Untitled Film Project Podcast, somewhat breaking news, last couple of days, revealed at Comic-Con that Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., is coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not as Tony Stark, as Dr. Doom.
What do we think about the SDCC news that Tony Stark / Iron Man / really Robert Downey Jr. will be returning to the MCU, but as a different character, as Dr. Doom? This is, to me, like, if you saw the video footage of the Hall, it was a great moment. He takes off the mask. No one expects it to be him. It could have been Emmanuel Lewis. It would have been, people would have expected that more.
Yes.
So the fact that it was Robert Downey Jr. was just, everyone went bonkers. He seemed to kind of choke up with the love in the room and all that stuff. But as I thought about it more and more, I was like, I don't know if I like this. So I wanted to bring it to you guys. And you, of course, as well. What do you guys think? Jim?
I got mixed feelings about this because I think Robert Downey Jr. is one of our great actors.
Yes.
Is there anything he can't do? Not much, right? The guy's just incredible. And his portrayal of Tony Stark is the reason any of these movies are being made today.
Yes.
It ushered in an entire era of movie making, and I think with a lesser actor that wouldn't have happened. I have such respect for him. I don't know. Here's the problem: if I see him as Dr. Doom, a new character, am I going to see Iron Man in my brain at the same time, or will they be able to pull off not having those two? Is it covering his face the whole time?
Most of the time, Dr. Doom's wearing a mask.
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of it could be voice work.
Okay.
And things so here's one. There are a couple different scenarios, right? They said they were playing Victor Von Doom, right? Is it going to be a Tony Stark variant, an evil version? I don't think that's where they're going to go with this.
I don't want that.
I don't think most people want that. They'd want him playing a version of this, of Victor Von Doom. They can make him look very different. It is mostly with a mask. There's so many different ways. It's been by the time this comes out, it'll have been close to 9 years since he played Iron Man.
Yeah.
Fully played
25?
Since he
26, sorry.
Since
26.
he started, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, since he finished.
Endgame is 19, right?
Right, so I mean, was it 19?
2019, yeah.
Wow, it seems like it's so long ago. Thanks, pandemic. There have been some time passed. I think he's a great actor, so he can do anything. If it is mostly voice and motion work, body movements, things like that, you can make it different because he is such a great actor. There's going to be more to the story. We already know that.
Yes.
It's Marvel. There's going to be more to this. Are they going to bring in something like a Nathaniel Richards? Time traveling, because they got to tie up the loose ends with Kang, right? There's so many things because they're switching. They're doing a full turn here.
Yes.
Because it's not Kang Dynasty anymore. It's Doomsday and Secret Wars, but they still have to tie up something, right? They can't just they have to tie something in there. So, given that Kang the Conqueror is related to Nathaniel Richards, and then you have the whole time with the Fantastic Four. They're going to time jump in Secret Wars, time jump into a different universe with the multiverse. How are they going to tie in all these different characters? I think there's a way they can make this work without people being confused, because it's just, think goatee, cyber hair, things like that. I'm okay with it because Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic. He's a great actor. He did have his goodbye, an emotional goodbye to Marvel, to the fans, to the character. So they're going to have to do a very good job of making it very different and explaining themselves so people don't get confused, and not have Iron Man jokes. If you put in Iron Man jokes, it reminds people. I think you build the character properly to make people completely forget that. Now, if you have a Deadpool appearance with him on the screen, that's the only free pass of making an Iron Man joke.
Right. Like
because it's in character.
He can make it. Right? Yeah. But he's the only character that could jump in for 1 second, make a joke, and it lands.
Exactly. That's the only one. Can't be Spider-Man, can't be anybody else, can't be Captain America in any form or fashion. Yeah. You have to build the character completely different. And then you bring the Russo brothers in.
Right.
Through all this. Through the next two Avengers movies, which I'm totally fine with that as well, because
I have no problem with that.
If anything, they know how to make Avengers movies.
They're good at it.
because they haven't done much since.
I don't understand the hate against that, actually. They announced it, they're like, oh, they're rolling it back. Yeah, because it was good.
Because it did work.
What was really good? Yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah.
Instead of,
They know how to make a good movie with big casts. That's a key. How do you make a good movie like Infinity War is better than Endgame? It's a better movie overall than Endgame. I love Endgame, but Infinity War is much, much better of a movie.
We've talked about this.
richly satisfying.
So the Russo brothers know how to bring in so many different personalities and characters and continue to build those without letting people get forgotten. Because you think of how much jumping goes around in both of those, Infinity War and Endgame, yet you don't feel as lost if you've been following along, but you still have the characters continue to develop and have their own stories. It takes a special type of director or directing duo to be able to make that happen and make a good movie. These two movies are going to have a lot of people involved that they're going to have to balance, and they're good at doing that.
So I want to piggyback off what you just said, because you mentioned Kang and how it's not Kang the Conqueror anymore. It's not Kang Dynasty, all that stuff. This is actually one of the reasons that I think this may have happened to begin with. So I think there's three things. There's three takeaways that I had when I was kind of wrestling with why in the world would they bring Robert Downey Jr. back, other than the fact that, again, as we talked about, he's a phenomenal actor. Okay, the first one is they went out and they got Jonathan Majors to play Kang, which was tremendous. We all know he was the best part of Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yep.
We all know that he was tremendous in Devotion. We all know that he was tremendous in Creed 3. Like, he is incredible. Then he goes and gets himself into personal trouble, and Marvel says, and Disney says, we're done with that. So they cut off the Kang the Conqueror as best they can. They kind of tie it up in Loki as best they can, and we're done. So now it's no longer the Kang dynasties. My point of saying that is, maybe they just went and got Jonathan Majors and then went through all that with it, that they're like, this is a safe bet. We need a powerhouse for Doctor Doom, one of the greatest comic book characters of all time. Again, not a comic fan. This is just what my comic friends tell me. Okay. So if he's one of the greatest comic book characters of all time, you can't screw it up. Who do you go get? Well, I mean, you could do worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when it's mostly the voice.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So,
right.
He's money.
Right. So that's number one. Number two is maybe he is a Tony Stark variant, and maybe they went up to Robert Downey Jr. and they go, hey, look, here's the deal. In Secret Wars, we're going to have Iron Man come back and Captain America come, and whatever it is. And he says, I'm not interested in a Tony Stark cameo. I'm not interested in one. I'm not doing it. And they say, well, what if we give you a full-time job? What if we make you Doctor Doom? Would you do it then? I can see him being like, okay, I'll revisit Tony Stark for 2 minutes because I'm already on board doing something. I'm not here to be a day player and be hired for one day to come in and do this. But I'll do it if I'm part of this other thing where all I have to do is change costumes. So maybe that's it.
Could be.
I don't know. My point though is, am I so mad at this that I will not see it? Hell no. I'll be there opening night, just like I was for Deadpool.
I want to see it more because Robert Downey Jr. is in it.
So I'm curious.
Because I'm curious, and like, if you're a betting man, I'm not going to bet against Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
Like, there's a chance they screw this up, and I get that thing that I don't want, which is always seeing him and thinking Iron Man. But more than likely, he's so good, and I think they're going to be careful that, like, yes, now I care more about these two.
There were movies, okay, in the MCU. There are movies, probably 4 or 5 of them, right, that I would easily say I could have written a better script for. Sure. It's very, very few. Very, very rare.
Give me one of those.
The Marvels.
Okay.
But my point, though, is that this team of writers, okay, at the MCU, at Disney, whatever, are far smarter than I will ever be. Therefore, I trust that they know what the hell they're doing, as opposed to bringing Robert Downey Jr. out at SDCC and announcing him as Doctor Doom, a completely different character that he played for, what was it, 12 years, 13 years?
Yep.
Right?
Something like that.
So I have to assume and have faith that they know what they're doing. So therefore, I'm willing to. I don't like it right now if I feel uneasy, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a home run later.
Curiosity's peaked.
Yeah.
And I mean that's what they achieved their goal.
I know.
It's not the end. This is not the end. It's not just like, by the way, there's going to be so much more to the story.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And they wanted people talking about it. So we are.
I have a follow-up question, though.
Oh.
Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine just makes that they don't dance around the fact that people have been majorly disappointed with the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a few years now, and they've had stinker after stinker, right?
You've come in at a low point.
You've come to a low point. It was a great line.
It was a great line.
And accurate. Okay, so they give us this little piece of good news, and it's been a lot of disappointment leading up in the last few years. They don't have a whole lot of capital with many people anymore. If they screw up Doctor Doom and the next movie,
Okay.
are you done? Are you out?
I think the masses are.
No,
Yes.
they're not.
Yes, I think they are.
I don't think the masses are done because there's always going to be enough curiosity. They're still going to make enough money.
We just sat here and had a whole conversation and episode about how superhero fatigue
There is fatigue.
here. So if you put the nail in the coffin,
we talked about quantity of movies during a year too. Because
Yes,
we need
that's
them
part of it.
and TV release. We need them to spread out more because that's fatigue. A lot is bombardment.
I agree with
It's
that.
not
but
just about the quality of the film.
Yes.
It's about bombardment
Yes,
too.
but the population still has to go see. If you bring in Doctor Doom, they still got to go see Fantastic Four and all these movies coming leading up to it.
Yeah.
There's still homework involved.
I know too many people that say, like, look, I just want to go and I want to be entertained. I don't want to have to take a 300 level course before I get there to understand what's going on. And they've also been disappointed. Like the last shot they gave it was Quantumania, and they walked out going, I think it's done. Me and them. That's a not insignificant portion of people out there that could buy tickets.
Okay, but since they announced Secret Wars, that re-piqued a lot of curiosity in people because people that are excited about comic book movies overall had enough people at least excited about that. But it's
Those
how
are
are they
people
going? How are they going to get to that? Okay, so it's leading into what you're asking though, is how they're going to get to that because everyone knows we're going to see a lot of faces that we've seen in the past with Secret Wars and new ones and variants of those.
Yes,
because that has an intriguing story already. Because most people that are at least curious about Marvel movies know what Secret Wars means. And the fact they're still keeping Secret Wars means we're going to get fan service again, but we're going to get something that's going to be intriguing, especially with Russo brothers attached to it. How are they going to lead to get to that will be a key point, Jim. It will be. Yeah. Okay? But I think they're doing it right by not rushing the X-Men. They've been little teases here and there, not rushing to it because they know there's money in the X-Men. They could
their hills.
They could have rushed. They could have really rushed X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
They could have.
Especially with being a down point.
Right. But having Fantastic Four and X-Men, the key proponents, plus Spider-Man, of Marvel, when you think about what needs to be making money and the characters that have so much story to them, I think they made good decisions there by not rushing those. Fantastic Four and having it set in a completely different decade. It's going to be a period piece, which is going to connect somehow.
It's going to have to win me over because I am not a Fantastic Four fan. That movie, when that came out, I gave it 2 alternate titles. It was the Fantastic Four and the Blandtastic Four.
Yes. But to Bradford's point, though, the Fantastic Four is a tentpole for Marvel Comics.
They know they have to get this right.
Okay,
there's all these other fill-in movies, and I totally get it. They're not as strong. They know so much rests on Fantastic Four. And I think that's why they went with the casting they did, because those are names that, at least those names, will bring people to the theater. Yeah. That key moment right there.
Mando alone for me.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal is going to bring people to the theater.
Yeah.
Then you have...
He's a draw.
Right, you have so many, and you have key pieces, and all 4 of those people have played some major roles here of late. Major award-winning roles here of late, too. They're being very strategic with Fantastic Four because they know so much lies on that to lead into the next thing. So, that being said, yes, there's a lot of pressure to get it right. But now that they have this excitement for Robert Downey Jr., again, safe. There's so many things they're trying to do a thing a little safe. They don't need to take things that are just big swings for the fences. We don't need them having big home runs here and every single time and just all you're doing is doing that or striking out. Get a little bit of safety in there, build that base back up because it's already starting to turn into a Star Wars fan base where people will just hate for the sake of hating.
Oh, yes, that's
a lot of times.
Sure,
it's that when you get bigger fan bases, things like that.
It becomes automatic.
It becomes automatic. There's lots of hate. They understand that. I think they do understand. I think even with Star Wars, I know Acolyte had plenty of naysayers about it, but there are some really intriguing parts about the Acolyte.
Oh, yeah.
Just like in Marvel, but they have to space it out.
Yeah, I didn't care.
The thing...
Acolyte board minute.
That's a discussion for another day.
That's a good for another day. But they have to stretch it out. That's the key thing.
Which I would love to have, by the way.
They're doing so much better now in their plans, thanks to the strike. That they had to space things out.
The strike and failure is teaching them lessons. So they're going...
Well, they learn.
Yes, they're going safer. Dr. Doom with the Robert Downey Jr. is definitely like, okay, all right, the boardroom can go, okay, we're good with him. He's good.
He's not a wild card.
And the first trailer for the new Captain America was actually intriguing enough.
It's awesome.
This is gritty. This looks rough. This reminds me of Civil War, which is elite. MCU for me is Winter Soldier. Very much Winter Soldier vibes from the new Captain America trailer. So if we get back to a lot of that, and it doesn't have to always be connected, like Captain America doesn't have to be connected to the multiverse near as much. There's still segments in there, but we need a good, gritty Captain America movie in the home base to really get those fans back
in reality.
In reality. Right? We haven't had that in a while. Everything's been witches and wizards and AI and multiverse.
Right.
I think that's a good time for the new Captain America to come out soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us, letting us talk about the new news out of Comic-Con with Robert Downey Jr. and Dr. Doom. If you got some theories, or if you think that maybe this is going to be the worst thing to ever happen, or it's the best thing, tell us why in the comments. Hit us up on socials.
Thank you for listening to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. To support the show, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Original music by Jeremy Schwartz. Special thanks to the Music City Film Critics Association. Editing and post-production by Jeremy K. Gover. Voiceover by Chad Bennett.